Seems like the organizers are gone, so I will introduce myself. My name is Chris. Actually, my name is Krzysztof, but that's very difficult to pronounce and spell, so I usually go by Chris. Okay, that's kind of close, yeah? You guys are good. And I only speak a very little German, and I don't want to embarrass myself, so I won't be speaking German at all. I would like to start the presentation by fixing this wall, because it's kind of weird that we have this. But I was told that this might be a very expensive designer wall, so maybe let's not. All right, so Pavel had this like a really nice talk, really prepared. He did it in a large conference. This one isn't like so well prepared. I'm doing this the first time, so. I will also have a live demo, which is really scary because I haven't been doing live demos since I don't remember, like 5 years ago. But let's go into it. Do you guys know this company? Yeah. They used to have a logo like this back in the day. In fact, they've been changing the logos all the time. They are currently going like Uber/Facebook kind of theme. They all look the same now, like 2025. They even dropped the swirly thing. But in the years that they were actually like still had the swirly thing, they also did something called GPT-2. It was in 2019, ages ago, previous decade, previous epoch, not AI era. And this was the last large language model that was actually open by them. You can download the weights, you can still download the weights, and you can actually use those weights, and you can generate some text using it. They had this part on Wikipedia that this model is so expensive, you probably need the graphic cards to run it, which is crazy. And if you run it on CPU, it will use 100% of your CPU for several minutes, like terrible thing. And Hugging Face made a special version that is slightly faster, and everybody was worried that those big models are so expensive to run. Yeah. Now you can do this thing. This is a repository by Andrew Karpathy called NanoGPT. It's written in I think the worst Python I ever saw. And the configuration is done with global variables. Like there is a comment that says, I don't know how to use configuration files, so I'm using global variables. If you want to modify something, change those values. But you can use this to train GPT-2. And it costs several $100 and takes like 3 days. But you can also do other things. Like there are examples. You can train a large language model that only does Shakespeare. Terrible Shakespeare at that. You can plug in your conversation history with your friends. And now it can generate new conversation histories if you don't have friends anymore, for example. It's a very fun tool. And you can choose a tokenization method. If you do the tokens that are only one letter, it will generate text that looks like English, but it is in English. It just looks like optically like English. It's freaky. It's a very fun thing to play with. I highly recommend it. But we don't have this kind of things anymore from OpenAI. They are closed. It's closed AI. But nothing can stay closed for long, right? We have open source. They will open anything that is of value. And by the way, the ChatGPT suggested LLM models, so it doesn't know the M stands for models. But you have some great models to try, like Mistral, our French model, amazing thing. They also do OCR. OCR isn't open, but even the Mistral is an amazing model. Qwen, great for coding. Phi, which is a model from Microsoft that shows how much they hate OpenAI. Microsoft hates OpenAI. Gemma from Google, which is like a little Gemini. DeepSeek, of course. Olmo is like the weird one because on paper is the most fun one because they provide you with all the code to train it, all the data to train it, and the model itself, and all the checkpoints, but the model sucks. Yeah, of course, Llama, which is kind of open, but not really. They have like a really weird licensing. Like if you have like 3 billion users, you have to pay them. So obviously you don't have to pay them unless you're Google or Amazon. There is Grok, and there are many more. There are 2 Polish ones, Plum and Bielik, which are specializing in doing Polish words. There is a list on GitHub, and you can run them locally on your computer. For some of those, you might need a fancy computer, but other than that, yeah, you can run them. But not everything is an LLM. There are some models for embeddings, and just to straighten out the answer, yes, you can do different embeddings with different models if they vectorize into the same space, and some of them are compatible with one another. There are some models that embed text, but there are also some ones that embed images, for example. So you can find images using text or find images using images. There are different models that you can just download and use. There is, of course, voice recognition, which you guys saw as Whisper, but Whisper is something that you can also download to your computer, and it just works. Image generation, of course, all those comfy UI things like Flux, Stable Diffusion, HiDream. You can use them to generate silly things. You can put your face on a superhero or something. Works pretty well. But we're in pre-PostgreSQL era. And what I mean by that, have you guys know that Postgres used to not be an SQL database? They appended SQL later. It was called Postgres without QL. And they had their own query language, something very different from SQL. But someone did like a feature request. Can we use SQL? This language sucks. And they appended SQL and changed the name to PostgreSQL. Yeah, but when this was still happening, there was one big player called Oracle. Oracle is short for one rich asshole called Larry Ellison. We don't use Oracle that much anymore. I know some companies that use Oracle, but we probably don't use it that much anymore. We have open source databases, but with models, we're still tied to OpenAI and Anthropic. We're not really using those open models enough. Luckily, things are moving faster now. On the very top of this very dirty wall, there is a Hugging Face logo, but there is also Hugging Face mentioned here. We have this Hugging Face, which is like a repository for models, data sets, and everything else that you can download the models from for free. This is an amazing space because you can contribute to open source movement in AI. But what about Ruby? Like Ruby is weirdly missing from this AI space, right? But I still kind of think that Ruby can become the next big thing here in Berlin. Unfortunately, this is still generated by OpenAI. Open source models can't really do good Berlin. I've tried. You can do AI and machine learning in Ruby itself using several different techniques. First of all, there are those wrapper gems. Do you guys remember this thing? Like we used to include jQuery like that. It was crazy. Like it was super weird, but we did that, and it worked for several years. I'm kind of sure that if I like really grill you, some of your applications will still have this thing included. There is one guy, of course. I hope they pay you enough. Okay. Whisper is bundled as a gem. You can install Whisper. You will have Whisper on your computer and on your Ruby application. It has like a nice block syntax, which you pass the audio and you receive and block the chunks of text. Very nice. This is, because Pablo's presentation is open source, I just took it and I replaced part that calls OpenAI with Whisper. Unfortunately, Whisper doesn't accept the WebM format, so I had to do some FFmpeg shenanigans. But it works. It works. It transcribes the whole text using open source Whisper. Not a lot of code, right? There's this thing, and this thing, and this thing. You kind of don't really want to look at it. There is Ollama and Llama files, which are the fun parts for running LLMs locally. Quick start, this looks like this. Ollama run Gemma 3 if you have Ollama installed, and you have Gemma 3. Very easy. It uses the same interface as OpenAI. So in theory, you just replace the URL, and you have a Gemma model running on your computer with exactly the same code as you used to have. There are Llama files. Who knows what Llama files are? There are some people. Same guy who's jQuery Rails. So you have the fancy tech and the old tech. In one project?
Not the same project.
Not the same project. Llama files are displayed in a weird format. It was announced like before the Llama file was a thing. There was a girl named Justine Tenney, and she wrote a binary format that can run on 6 different operating systems. Same file. Just download it, double-click it. It will work on Linux, macOS, FreeBSD, Windows, and some other. Maybe there's listed somewhere here, but basically the same file runs on different operating systems. And if you bundle it with a model runner like Llama CPP, so then you can do this. And this runs the Gemma as a server that you can use, just downloading the model and double-click it. If you're on Windows, if you're on Linux, you have to do, well, add the permission to run the file. But it still works. It's a fully running local large language model. So if we have those two, and by the way, they are supported in multiple different things like Ruby OpenAI, ActiveAgent, Ruby LLM, everything that runs with OpenAI. But if we have those two, like Whisper and Llama, perhaps we can do a demo. Not this one, this one. You remember this guy? Yeah, so his presentation's open source. So I decided to kind of take it. Please note that my computer is offline. He uses M to change slides. It's super weird. Okay. Come to us, Gemma. I hope this works. It works. So this is in Gem. Thank you. This is Gemma. I've actually edited the model to say Gemma. And as you can probably guess, Gemma runs on Llama because Gemma doesn't support tool calling. But yeah, it can do the same thing. Sniff. Yeah, it can also go right, left, jump, everything that the Gem can do. But Gemma is actually here with us. It's not in the cloud. This is a local dog. Yeah. So going back to the presentation for a second. This is not counting the Whisper part that you guys seen before. This is all the code I needed to change Gem into Gemma. Well, I also changed the texture. But there are two lines. This one that says Llama 3.2, and this one, which used to be a key token for something, but because this is local, we don't need a key or token or anything. We just changed the URL, and Gemma is here with us. So not a lot of code to change the proprietary application into a local application with your local model. And you can Dockerize those things, and you can run them on separate infrastructure. So in theory, if you really need a model that works, you can run it in cloud, on your local instance. You can go HIPAA compliant. You can do whatever you want with this model, and they mostly work. But we need to go deeper. Like, this is too small. Yeah, now it's better. This is Ghibli-ized version. For some reason, Leonardo gets like a really nice mustache if you ask to do Leonardo in Ghibli version. Yeah, so you can use something like Onyx. Who's familiar with Onyx? There's one guy. He's the machine learning guy. So Onyx is a format, Open Neural Network Exchange, if I'm not mistaken. It's a format for running neural networks on anything, including Ruby. Anything with a binding, but Ruby has a very decent binding written by Andrew Kane. The guy wrote like, I don't know, 40 different gems, and Onyx is one of them, Onyx runtime. So if you have this, you can basically download the model from Hugging Face in Onyx format. You can supply some tensors, which are a scary word, but this basically just an array of floats, and you can get a different array of floats on the other end, which you can also translate into something like tokens, images, voice, whatever you want. So using this, like that, Onyx runtime model.new, model Onyx, predict, and input, and you will get some prediction. This isn't very graphical, though. So this is a part of a workshop that I did on the image vector search. Image vector search generates embeddings, puts them into database, and now you can search them using different embeddings. And this actually tokenizes the text using the tokenizers, also written by Andrew Kane, and puts them into a model. And on the output of the model, which happens to be array because this supports like multiple texts at the same time, you will get an embedding, which you can store in the database for future use. There isn't much code. This is all the code that you need to have a proper embedding of an image vector search model for text. And there is a similar model for images. So basically, You pre-process the image, which isn't very much to do. It's just resize and normalize the colors and put them into array of floats. But you do the same thing, put it into a model, predict the output, you have embedding. Now you have multiple embeddings, so if you combine them, you can search for images using text. I do have a demo of that. So this is the code of an application that we did during the image vector search workshops and the Ruby Community Conference Krakow. If I look for something like cat, I will see a cat. If I do something like white cat, yeah, I can see white cat. There are only few models, so sometimes there is a dog. There are 600 images. It has to pick from something. There are also some duplicates. But the fun part about this particular model that I'm using, which is XLM Roberta Clip, very long name, which is like a modified clip that also has Roberta. Clip is an OpenAI image from the times that they were still OpenAI, not closed AI. Long story. But this version actually is multilingual. So I can do something like czarny pies, which is black dog in Polish. And I have a black dog and also black cat for some reason. I can do some fancy language that shiro neko in Japanese, white cat if I'm not mistaken. Somebody will correct me probably. And it still works as a white cat. The results are slightly different because the model understands each language in a slightly different manner. But you get roughly the idea that you can actually search for unlabeled images. These don't have any text whatsoever. The input is just an image using text. And we can also like, I don't know, we can upload some image. I do have this Ruby image in Berlin. Yep, so we have this. If I refresh it, it's just solid queue in the background to embed it. It finds similar images because you can search for an image using an image. There aren't that many great hits for it, but there is something. If I go back to photos, I can actually find this image. But the fun part is that Ruby actually isn't the right term. Sorry. Diamond works better. If you type Ruby, like Rubies are not generally this shape from what I understand. I've tried to do it several times during like different conferences. And if you want to have Ruby as a thing, what you type in the prompt is red diamond or the Ruby shaped like Ruby language logo. Those two work. Yeah, but this is like a full vector search for images. It runs on SQLite with a local model from Onyx, just downloaded from Hugging Face. The code for this is available. I'll post the links somewhere later. And of course, if you guys want to, we can do a workshop sometime at the Ruby Rugby, it's called? Yeah. Yeah, Rugby is a great name. It works on so many levels. Okay, so going from the demos. So this isn't very difficult, but I wrote this pseudocode. This is pseudocode. Please don't copy it. This is basically what the LLM looks like in Onyx, like a low-level LLM. So we tokenize the initial query. We load the LLM. And then we generate a new token using input last context size because it has to be fixed sized. Attention mask is something that you can read about. I don't really want to go into details, but basically this tells which tokens are real and which aren't because context is for fixed size. If the new token is end of sentence, stop generating tokens. If it isn't, print the new token, decode it to something that user can actually read, and append the token into query loop. And that's basically the entire thing that LLM does. In Onyx model, like low level. There are some languages that actually have a Onyx implementation called Onyx GenAI, which basically includes this particular loop for some reason. I don't think this is very useful, but it shows you that all those models, all those transformer models are basically the same thing that you can download from Hugging Face and just run. And they are not that difficult to run. And by the way, if you want to run this on GPU, there is a flag that says run it on GPU. If you want to run it on Apple Silicon, there is a flag that says run it on Apple Silicon. It's just a flag for a configuration of the model. There isn't that much to it in Onyx. Pseudocode, don't copy. There are some other options. You can shell out, so call something from shell. Use PyCall, which is a library that allows you to call Python. You can use PyTorch models in Ruby, but they kind of suck. A lot of stuff don't really work. And you can use TensorFlow models, but please convert them to Onyx because the library for TensorFlow is abandoned a very, very long time ago. By the way, TensorFlow has a very decent JS port. Like if you're looking for something low latency on the browser side, the TensorFlow works pretty well. Why though? What's the point of running all those models when you can just call ChatGPT? You can do some small AI ML features. You don't really need to call OpenAI to do something very trivial. This is a quote from the Ruby AI Discord, Ruby AI Builders Discord that has like people interested in building stuff with AI in Ruby. And there was one guy who posted this thing. I didn't include his name for privacy reasons, but he posted something like, I'm scanning all those documents, and some of them are rotated, and LLM, instead of giving me the right text, it will give me gibberish, and I would like to have something that will tell me if the document is rotated or not. So everybody suggested like, yeah, use Claude something, use Mistral OCR, use like some expensive model. I just Googled, and there is this tiny, tiny network. Wrote that model that's like a 1 megabyte, and I just responded to him, dude, there's like a tiny library that you can just use in Ruby. It works pretty well on the documents I've tried. Here is the code, and there wasn't much code. This is like an entire demo. So this is load model, normalize the image, which is like a lot of math. But luckily, this thing is really easy to vibe code because you have a Python version usually supplied, so you just give it the Python version and tell I want the same thing, but in Ruby, and it works. So predict the input, and the output token, the output vector is basically 1 if it's rotated, 0 if it's not, or something like this. I don't know. I just tried 2 different images. They both worked. Very easy feature to write, and it's very difficult to do traditionally with like OCRs or like something that will try to investigate what's actually inside of on the side of the JPEG. But the small neural net works pretty well. Specialized models. This is MedGemma, which is Gemma that is trained on medical data. It can respond to medical professionals' queries. But the small version of this model also has multi-model features. So basically, it can tell you what's on the X-ray or what's on MRI. I don't know if this is accurate, so don't blame me if it isn't, if you find something or don't find something that you're looking for. But it's very interesting that some people are doing things like they have a large collection of medical data, including images, and they are training the model to recognize stuff on those, and they just share them on Hugging Face. This is a Google model, of course. There are some specialized embeddings for medical data because doctors use like weird words that we don't understand. Yeah, we wouldn't talk to them. We feel the same way as regular people talking to programmers, which is half of the stuff is garbage. But this tokenizes the text from the doctors pretty well. So it's useful if you're doing RAG database for doctors. There are some other benefits of using those public models. The latency is lower. If somebody calls you to do some query, and you're calling OpenAI to do this query for you, there are 2 HTTP calls. But if you run this stuff locally, there is only 1. 1 is better than 2. Restricted data compliance. You can do HIPAA. You can do other kind of compliance. If you own the servers, you're responsible for doing stuff, but at the same time, nobody will see your data. And you pay for compute, not for tokens. Tokens are terrible units for measuring for paying for stuff because they're usually overpriced, especially for those models like 4.1, was it? No, 4.5 was the extremely expensive model. So you pay for a computer, not for tokens. If you want to do like real-time voice recognition, you can either pay for Whisper on the GPU from OpenAI and stream stuff to them, or you can buy a Mac Mini for $500 and you have all the real-time transcription you want forever. And Ruby basically is a very good match for AI ML workloads. We have the toolings. We don't have the toolings to train the models yet, but there is some progress in that area. But we have a lot of tools to run the models and to interact with AI applications. So if there's one thing that you should take from this talk, you should go to Hugging Face and try to solve your next problem using some model that you find over there, and make Hugging Face your second Ruby gems. And that is all. Thank you very much.